I wanna fly high up to the sky. I'm living in the mountains. Everybody know the soil so fertile. If a man sit down naked, the seeds might grow. A delightful getaway from the hustle, bustle and tricks. Oh, what a natural fix if you don't like to mix with the politics. One issue I have to resolve. If I could sort it out, all problems solved. Every time I plant corn and it start to shoot, some idiot keep fucking it out the root. Make country flowers in there, fuck it up. Make country produce in there, fuck it up. Country start to blossom. I don't know who or where they come from. Me blind neighbor say he saw a man resembling one of the politicians. I wasn't there, so I didn't see exactly who fucking up me country. Riding on me donkey, transportation bliss. Me fireside bubbling a goodie. I hear rioting in the gas crisis. Surrounded by wild animals. What a vicious pack. But none of them does launch an attack. None of them poison us like invert and sap. The hunt always on, I could say that much. And true, can switch it off like crime watch. My mission now is to put a stop to whosoever fucking me country up. Some say a man named Eric, George, Robbie and Patrick. Some say Capildeo, Paris, Kamla, Basteo. Old man Bedu said this ain't nothing new. They fucking up long before 1962. If Butler was around, he might have tell we directly who fucking up me country.
Hey, good evening to everybody and welcome to the Rebuttal. I'm Douglas Wattley, your host, and I'm pleased to welcome you to another episode. If you're new, welcome. If you're accustomed to tune in to the Rebuttal, welcome back. I want to give a shout out to all of you who have been tuning in week after week to the Rebuttal. And for those of you who continue to send messages to me, letting me know that you are listening, letting me know that you enjoy the program, and complaining that you want me to go back to the 2 hours, I appreciate that you are still tuning in to the Rebuttal after more than a year and after the most recent elections. So I'm pleased to have you with us. If you're in St. Kitts and Nevis, or if you're in the St. Kitts and Nevis diaspora, I'm pleased to have you. People from all over have been sending messages to me, from England, from Canada, the US, Tortola, St. Thomas. People have been sending messages to let me know that they are listening. And so I assume that what they're actually telling me is, we are listening, so we need you to continue with the show every week. And so for that reason, and for the simple reason that people are listening and people enjoy the show, I'm going to continue with the program. Let me start off by saying this. I read on Facebook, because everybody put things on Facebook, and people say a lot of things on Facebook. Some of us don't think twice before we put things on Facebook. But I read a response on Facebook, and the response was to an outcry by, I suspect, an owner of a daycare center in St. Kitts. The owner was complaining about how onerous and cost ineffective the requirements are for that daycare center to become COVID-19 compliant. The response to that person was, I thought, harsh and, quite frankly, tone deaf and lacking in any empathy for what the daycare owner was going through in order to become COVID-19 compliant. Without going through the reasons I frowned on the response, I didn't post a response. I read it and I frowned. And the person who made that response, I know them. I'll tell you this, and you ought to bear this in mind. The Team Unity government won re-election. It doesn't matter how much you think they cheated and so forth. They won re-election. You know, sometimes they say, watch what you ask for because you might just get it. Well, they won re-election. And now they must govern for the next 5 years. Many of you voted for the government. Many of you voted to put that government back into power. And so it is understandable that you will try to defend the government, especially at this point in time, because we are only at 2 months out from the election. And so you might still be on a high, you might still be celebrating the fact that the government or the party that you supported won and is now in government. But in so doing, you have to recognize that when the rain falls, and I think this was in a Bob Marley song, it doesn't fall on one man's housetop. Especially now that we are in a pandemic and we are in a great recession. So more and more, you are going to realize that the people who are hurting and crying out for help are some of the ones that voted with you to return the government to power. It is impossible for you to create a scenario where only the Labour supporters are suffering. You got to keep that in mind. So it stands to reason that people for whom you show disdain and intolerance, it may very well be that they voted alongside you to reinstate the Team Unity government. I'm just saying. But think about it. The more than 10,000 people who lost their jobs and are on reduced income, all of them can be labor only. The powers that be may not be telling you the truth, but things are going to get worse before they get better. More people are going to lose their jobs. Some of them, you gonna turn them away. And I'm gonna come back and talk about a situation in a little bit. And some people gonna get upset at what I'm gonna say. Well, guess what? You know I'm gonna say it anyway. more businesses are going to fail. And those business owners are not all labor supporters. And the fact is, some of these businesses are not going to be able to come back. And so people are going to suffer. According to the ECCB estimates, the GDP growth, which is the economic growth rate for 2020 in St. Kitts and Nevis, will be in the region of about 17%. Now, if you assume that there was recently a 3% growth in St. Kitts, that's like a 20% turnaround, a 20% drop. The thing is, I had been saying that maybe the GDP rate has dropped about 10%. But these guys are saying it's closer to 17, 18%. And you can look on their webpage and see what I'm talking about. You know how tough it's going to be to get out of this hole? And it is even tougher because you have a government that doesn't have a plan. How do I know they don't have a plan? Because they have not told you about a plan. So you don't know what tactics, you don't know what strategies, you don't know how they are going to go about getting us out of this hole. Unless somebody comes up with a bright idea, we are going to be in a recession mode for more than 10 years. St. Kitts and Nevis, as we know it, is going to change dramatically unless somebody comes up with a bright idea. Now you say, what do you mean by a bright idea? Well, when we went through the Great Recession, there were two ideas that saved us. It turns out that there were two ideas I didn't like. But there were two ideas that saved us. One was the new approach to the CBI program, the Citizenship by Investment program, right? That was one. That brought in tons of money. That bought us time and allowed us to survive the Great Recession. The other one was the land for debt swap. I also didn't like that. But that allowed the government to have some breathing space, some breathing room to survive the Great Recession. Right? Of course, you could say all the haircuts and so forth, and the freezing of increments for employees in the public service and all that helped, right? But those two projects, the CBI and the land for debt swap, they were big. And so we survived. Isn't it funny, though, that these boys here don't have any bright ideas to help us out this second time around? Isn't it funny that the ideas that they are depending on are the same ideas that Douglas came up with? Nothing new coming from these guys. They're still depending on the CBI. The effect of the land for debt swap is still the reason that we have this fiscal space to borrow if we need to, and we are going to need to. Those ideas came from Denzel Douglas. We are in deep doo-doo right now, and not a peep from this government. You ain't hear no ideas coming out of these guys. You understand? And I'm telling you, it's gonna get bad unless we have some ideas, or unless the old ideas continue to work as well as they did. I'm gonna take a break right now, and when I come back, I want to talk to you about the Social Security Board and the concerns that I have about what is happening there. So let's take a break, and then we'll be right back.
I love being in the latest style and dress fine, or should I say classy. That is why I shop at First Class next to the taxi stand at Port Sante for fine gold and silver jewelry in precious, semi-precious and colored stones, diamonds and crystal watches, and the hottest handbags and wallets. And when I want to buy a gift for someone, that's easy too. I just ask them to make me a gift basket, and First Class has the best prices at Port Sante. So no matter what the occasion, come on into First Class and leave happy, knowing you've gotten the best deal for your money. It's First Class at Port Sante, where quality, low prices, and top-notch service are second to none.
Spread the word. New and exclusive every Sunday from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's the Gospel Cafe with Carl D. Springate on KYSS FM 102.5. Tune in and connect with the Holy Ghost Connection with live interviews, Christian news, what's hot and what's not in the now. Birthdays and anniversary shout-outs available, Bible Jeopardy, Beyond the Pulpit, and positive entertainment and ministry. Testimonies and the pastor's moment with Spread the Word. So tune in as we drop the latest gospel hits, 100% black. It's the Carl D. Springate Gospel Cafe, Sundays from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. on KYSSFMonline.com and 102.5 FM. And be blessed like that.
One fashion accessories for really low prices. Check silver and cents. Check silver and cents. Beauty supplies and weave, genuine fragrances. Check silver and cents. Check silver and cents. Handbags so beautiful, your friends will envy how you look. With perfume to smell just right, you'll feel like you're in paradise. Watches, silver jewelry, and hair accessories. Check silver and cents in the Amri Mall on Keon Street.
Ready or not, hear my clothes, can't hide. Gonna find you and make you want me.
Ain't nobody tell me nothing. Can't tell me nothing.
I'm Shaniel Francis.
And I'm Dijon Webb.
Kyssfm 102.5 is proud to announce its brand new morning show, Backchat, the only place to hear the hottest music.
From local
Check me area code, me area code. Anywhere me go, you know me touch the
to international.
Ay, I go shopping, want it then I cop it. Ay, yeah, bitches popping, I do what they copy.
and have you informed with a range of topics.
tell me nothing.
So on Mondays to Fridays, tune in at 8 to 11.
Tell me nothing.
You won't want to miss the vibes on
Backchat.
Ready or not, hear my clothes.
I wanna fly high up to the sky. I'm living in the mountains. Everybody knows the soil so fertile. If a man sit down naked, the seeds might grow. A delightful getaway from the hustle, bustle and tricks. Oh, what a natural fix if you don't like to mix with the politics. One issue I have to resolve. If I could sort it out, all problems solved. Every time I plant corn and it start to shoot, some idiot keep forking it out the root. Make country flowers in it, fork it up. Make country producing it, fork it up. Country start to blossom. I don't know who or where they come from. Me blind neighbor say he saw a man resembling one of them politicians. I wasn't there, so I didn't see exactly who talking up my country.
Welcome back to the Rebuttal. I'm Douglas Wattley, your host. When we left, I told you that we were going to talk a little bit about Social Security. And the reason I want to talk about Social Security is that we have to be careful about the institutions that were set up to guarantee security into old age. Social Security is a means of guaranteeing income to old people, people who've worked for years and contributed and who have now retired. Now, if you work for government, you have two sources of income. You have your government pension, and then you have your Social Security pension. But that doesn't mean that the way things are now would be the way they would be later. And so if you do not preserve what you have now, you can rest assured that down the road, things are going to get sticky for all of us. Now, I say all of us, but I mean mostly you young people. You see, because people like me, we are closer to checking out than staying in. You 20-something, 30-something, 40-something year olds, you got time. And so you stand to be impacted more so than those of us who are a little bit more advanced in age. Now, I heard that the board was fired, and I don't know why it is that they didn't just resign, unless it is true that they had put some policy in place which they were going to use if Labour had won the election and tried to move them out. They would have taken it to court, and they would have tried their best to stay in their positions. Turns out that they won the election, and so that is why you don't make a policy to punish any particular person. But now I'm understanding that the board was terminated, and now it's time for Eugene Hamilton to put in place his own board. And we wait to see what he's going to do there. We wait to see who he's going to put there. I want to see if he ain't going to put his brother on the board. I'm all for that. The way things are going, nepotism means nothing in St. Kitts, so let's X that out. Gene cannot claim that he's not going to put his brother on the board because he has so much character. Because we have proven that Gene lacks character. He lacks ethics. He lacks moral. He lacks integrity. So that can't be the case. So I want to see if he's going to do that. I also want to see if he ain't going to put his friend, my friend, and his friend in Keon on the board. Or at least give him the option of turning it down. And then we want to see how many of the people that are going to be on the Social Security Board are given to him by the Prime Minister. You see, that's what happened the last time. The Prime Minister says, hey, you got to make my brother part of the board. So we're going to see what is going to happen this time around. Now, there are some people who were on that board who didn't get my vote of confidence because they accepted appointment to the board as payoff for supporting Tim. Because when we approached Tim in PLP about his lack of account for millions of dollars that were donated to PLP, the money you keep hearing us talk about, they came down on the side of Timothy. If they are no longer part of that board, what you want to bet that Tim gonna find some place for them to land? Because Tim well know that they know that what we were saying about he and the monies were true. And so Tim would have to show loyalty to them in order for them to keep his secrets and show loyalty to him. And so I expect that these people are going to get a soft landing. All right? Including, the CEO, the director. I don't have much respect for him. I think he have a corrupt mindset. And I think that the Social Security stands in trouble under his leadership based on his response when we asked Dr. Harris to account for the funds. He was one who dismissed us and supported Dr. Harris. But you can't on the one day tell us that you are not interested in accounts or in accountability, and then the next day expect us to think that all of a sudden you have this moral compass that guides your work in the organization. And so no, I don't have confidence. I don't think he had the credentials for the job, but you got to pay back the people who are loyal to you and who let you get away with all kind of things. All right? But I want us to take a deeper look at Social Security. And I have to be mindful that I have to keep it simple so that all of us could understand what it is I'm trying to say. All right? But think about this. I know of about 3 transactions in the past 5 years as follows. At least $50 million was earmarked for NHC housing, both in St. Kitts and Nevis. About $81 million was loaned to Scasper, the port, and that was just before election, just recently. And then $22 million, we are told, was paid out as part of the stimulus package, the income supplement part for unemployed persons and persons who have lost a portion of their income. In total, that's about $153 million coming out of Social Security for just 3 ventures. Up to now, I not say a thing about Development Bank. Now, why am I concerned? I am concerned because that is not the way you expect Social Security to invest its reserves. You understand? You expect it to invest in instruments that are likely to guarantee a payback. Payback of principal, payback with interest. I am hearing that one of the reasons the board was asked to step off is that there is a movement afoot to have Social Security write off monies that it sent to the Development Bank. And I'm telling you, if that happens, that's part of the cover-up of the money laundering that has been going on at the Development Bank. Somebody wants to cover the tracks. Now, if you are telling me that the development bank is the money sent to development bank are written off. It's kind of like a bad debt situation, even though I don't think that it's warranted here, right? Then you could argue that NHC could have its funds written off. The $81 million at Casper could be written off. You understand? Only the $22 million in the stimulus package would not be written off. But that is money that has gone out of Social Security. And you will say, yes, but they say that the Social Security has reserves of about $1.6 billion. Let's look at that. Let's look at that. At regular intervals, at predetermined intervals, an actuarial scientist, an actuary, would come into Social Security, look at its operation, look at its books, or look at its policies and practices, and it would make certain conclusions. It does an assessment and analysis, and draw certain conclusions, make certain forecasts, and make a few recommendations regarding the sustainability of the fund. All right? Now, let us do a quick and dirty assessment and analysis here. Consider this. The Social Security, right, says it has in reserve, right, cash and cash equivalents of about $1.6 billion. Now, I don't know if that figure is from the last audit, which would be maybe the end of 2019, or if it is as it stands today. All right? But the number that they are bandying around is that it is a $1.6 billion. That $1.6 billion would be in accounts. It's invested. And so it earns interest. All right? The actuarial scientists had anticipated that by the end of 2020, you would have somewhere in the region of $1.5 billion. And so this is about $100 billion more. All right? But in the scheme of things, $100 billion ain't diddly. All right? So let me continue. So we believe, by the forecast, that you're going to have somewhere in the region of $46 million in interest. Right? Now, it was also projected that by 2020, contributions would total somewhere in the region of $104 million. So if you have a full workforce, you would have contribution in the region of $104 million. To date, you have lost more than 10,000 persons from your workforce. If the number of contributors was 29,000, you are now down to about 19,000. Is that 20-something thousand contributors that the forecasters said would produce something like $104 million? So you tell me what it is now. You tell me what it is now. It cannot be anywhere close to the projected $104 million. You all understand what I'm saying? And so you have to take all this into account. I'm going to pause here because I don't want to be too dense. We're going to come back. I'll continue the discussion, but I just want to break it up a little bit for your own good. I'm going to come back and we'll continue the conversation about the situation at the Social Security. So let's pause here for a bit.
I love being in the latest style and dress fine, or should I say classy. That is why I shop at First Class next to the taxi stand at Port Sante for fine gold and silver jewelry in precious, semi-precious and colored stones, diamond and crystal watches, and the hottest handbags and wallets. And when I want to buy a gift for someone, that's easy too. I just ask them to make me a gift basket, and First Class has the best prices at Port Sante. So no matter what the occasion, come on into First Class and leave happy, knowing you've gotten the best deal for your money. It's First Class at Port Sante, where quality, low prices, and top-notch service are second to none.
Spread the word. New and exclusive every Sunday from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's the Gospel Cafe with Carl D. Springate on KYSS FM 102.5. Tune in and connect with the Holy Ghost Connection with live interviews, Christian news, what's hot and what's not, in the now. Birthdays and anniversary shout-outs available, Bible Jeopardy, Beyond the Pulpit, and positive entertainment and ministry. Testimonies and the pastor's moment with Spread the Word. So tune in as we drop the latest gospel hits, 100% flat. It's the Carl D. Springate Gospel Cafe, Sundays from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. on KYSSFMonline.com and 102.5 FM. And be blessed like that.
One fashion accessories for really low prices. Check silver and cents. Check silver and cents. Beauty supplies and weave, genuine fragrances. Check silver and cents. Check silver and cents. Handbags so beautiful, your friends will envy how you look. Great perfume to smell just right, you'll feel like you're in paradise. Watches, silver jewelry, and hair accessories. Check silver and cents in the Amri Mall on Keon Street.
Ready or not, here I come. Can't hide. Gonna find you and make you want me.
Ain't nobody tell me nothing. Can't tell me nothing.
I'm Shaniel Francis.
And I'm Dijon Webb.
Kyssfm 102.5 is proud to announce its brand new morning show, Backchat, the only place to hear the hottest music.
From local
Check me area code, direct me area code. Anywhere me go, you know me touch the
to international.
Ay, I go shopping, want it then I cop it. Ay, yeah, bitches popping, I do what they copy.
and have you informed with a range of topics.
tell me nothing.
So on Mondays to Fridays, tune in at 8 to 11.
Tell me nothing.
You won't want to miss the vibes on
Backchat.
Ready or not, here I come.
I wanna fly high up to the sky. I'm living in the mountains. Everybody knows the soil so fertile. If a man sit down naked, the seeds might grow. A delightful getaway from the hustle, bustle and tricks. Oh, what a natural fix if you don't like to mix with the politics. One issue I have to resolve. If I could sort it out, all problems solved. Every time I plant corn and it start to shoot, some idiot keep forking it out the root. Make country flowers in it, fork it up. Make country produce in it, fork it up. Country start to blossom. I don't know who or where they come from. Me blind neighbor say he saw a man resembling one of them politicians. I wasn't there, so I didn't see exactly who forking up me country.
Welcome back to the Rebuttal. And let us continue our discussion about the Social Security situation that is either now or soon to exist. So let us recap. We did say that it was presented officially by the Social Security Board that they have reserves totaling about $1.6 billion, right? And like I said, I don't know if that number was what it was at the end of last year or what it is now. But we'll go with that and assume that that is what it is now. Now, that $1.6 billion is invested, and when invested, it is expected to earn something like $46 million, right? Then it was projected, and these projections were made in 2017. It was projected that contributions, income from contribution, would total about $104 million. Now, the $1.6 billion was not the projection from 2015. The projection was actually $1.565 billion. And so the actuarial scientist was not far off. He was only about $35 million off, right? So we could say that he did a bang-up job with his forecast, right? Now, follow me. Like I said, the income invested, the income from the investment would be about $46 million, all right? Now let's get into the nitty-gritty, the operations. The total income in 2020 was forecasted to be about $151 million. That is what you get when you add the contributions to the interest income, right? About $151 million, right? That's to run Social Security. Then you have the expenses, because when you got income, you got to minus the expenses to determine whether you made a profit or a loss, or whether you had a surplus or a deficit. They don't use the term profit and loss, they use the term surplus deficit. That's what most public sector organizations do, all right? But it actually means the same. Now, the expenses would comprise of the benefits and pensions that are paid out every year, plus the administration's expense or administrative expenses, right? And that total, the total expenditure, right, which includes $114 million for benefits and pension, right, and $15 million in administrative expenses, would come up to about $130 million. If it remained that way, it would mean that Social Security would make a profit in 2020 of about $20 million. That what was forecasted. But notice this. We didn't include the $22 million that was taken out of Social Security as part of the stimulus package. So that would take us up to an expense of about $152 million, which means $152 million in expenses, and we think it's more, but in expenses, and if you take that away from the income of $150 million, then it means that Social Security should be looking at a deficit of about, say, $2 million. You're going to say, hey, but wait, Mr. Wattley, you fail to recognize that the estimate was $35 million below what it comes out to be right about now. All right? I am thinking that by the end of the year, that $35 million there is going to be wiped out for one reason or the other. So I'm going to stick with my argument that at the end of the year, there is going to be a deficit at the Social Security. I'm sticking with that. There'll be a deficit at the Social Security. Right? Now, you are saying that it sounds good that there is a $1.6 billion in reserves. The forecast was 1.565, right? A difference of about $35 million, right? And that sounds good. But let me tell you some other things. Why, if that actuarial scientist is accurate, and he appears to be very accurate, right? Why you got to start to worry. This is why you got to start to worry. He forecasted that by 2023, the Social Security would have a deficit of about $3.2 million. Here is my thinking. We are already in 2023. That is my conclusion. We are already in 2023. I believe that Social Security is already in a deficit situation. Now, you say, yeah, but, well, follow here. If you don't change what you're doing, this is what the forecast says. Right? This is what the forecast says. The forecast says that by 2023, you're going to be in a deficit situation. Let me tell you what that means. It means that Social Security would have to start dipping into its reserve of $1.6 billion. It would have to start dipping into its reserve to pay for its operations, to cover benefits and pension and admin costs. You follow what I'm saying? Yes, you have a sizable reserve now. But if you continue to run things the way they are, and if you don't make changes, right, you are going to be in a deficit situation, which means, because remember, I've always said to you, a deficit has to be paid for. How is it likely to pay for its deficit? By taking money out of the reserve to run the organization. But listen to this. The forecast is saying that all things being equal, if you ain't changed nothing, if nothing changed, right? The $1.6 billion you got will run out in 2038. That's less than 18 years from now. Less than 18 years from now, if you continue the way you're going, you're going to run out of reserve. And you're going to end up in a situation where you're going to be operating on a pay-as-you-go or pay-as-you-earn, maybe, situation, a pay-as-you-go situation. All right? And that's a whole different ball game which I'm not going to talk about tonight. I just want you to understand that just because you hear about these big monies, right, it ain't gonna last. And it worse ain't gonna last if you got people who working in these organizations who don't know their ass from the elbow. Hear what I tell you now. 2023 don't come. We are probably already at 2023. Now, I am not going to be surprised if that situation is not going to get worse fast. Like I tell you, the Social Security Board will start to pay for its expenditure from its reserves. And if it does so, he only got about 17 years worth of reserve. So you say, yeah, reserve is 1.6 billion. And we say, yeah, we know. But if you start to dip into the reserve to pay your bills and benefits, the reserve is forecasted to be depleted in 2038. That is less than 18 years from now. But look what has happened. The game has changed. Because when he did that calculation, he didn't recognize that COVID-19 was going to pay us a visit. And so he may have calculated based on a certain level of contribution. And we know that right now, the level of contribution is down more than 10,000, which means less money is going into the kitty. And if less money goes into the kitty, it means that forecast has to be revised. And whereas we said that money might be done in less than 17 years, it could very well be that as we speak, money gone done in about 12. Now, I don't know because I haven't run any figures. But I'm telling you, it's less than 17 years. Because a big chunk of the money that you depend on, which is contribution, won't happen. Remember I tell you, it is likely, it is possible that this recession could last 10 or more years, which means the unemployment situation could be bad, which means that the amount of people working won't be what it should be. And as a result, the contributions to Social Security would be down. And I am arguing that maladministration, poor management of Social Security is only going to make it worse. And I don't have confidence in the people down there in Social Security at the decision-making level. The lower people, them, they're good. Love them. It's them up at the top who are political and who I know have a corrupt mind. Them are what give me cause to worry. It's them they give me pause. It's them they give me pause. And then all you gonna tell me, man, Eugene gonna work out a situation, man. Eugene is a weakling. Unless you all forget, is Eugene Hamilton was with British American when it went belly up. So I don't know what kind of confidence I'm supposed to have in Eugene. I am telling you, mark my word, from tonight, Social Security should be on your watch list. Social Security should be on your watch list. And you know what I believe? I believe they're going to run Social Security in the ground to justify certain stiff decisions, like increasing retirement age to 65 or 67. Watch closely. Watch closely. Because that Social Security need to be preserved for more than 17 years into the future. You understand? It needs to be preserved more than 17 years into the future. You know, they extrapolated the forecast, you know. And let me tell you something, you ain't want to see what the figures look like, you know. Because by 2027, the deficit is something like $51 million, you know. That's what is forecasted. And if you are already at 2023, it means 2027 gonna come sooner. Watch Social Security with a cockeye. I could abuse me all you want. You understand? All of us gonna suffer. I got some options if I live long enough, but hear what I tell you. Keep an eye out. Or you put a government in place that I have no confidence in because of some of the people in the government, because of their lack of ideas. You understand? Because they have lack of discipline. You know, you all seem to think that because the fella does say, oh, we got a surplus up in the central government, right? That means something. Next week, I had planned to do it this week, but I ain't got no time. But next week, we're going to talk about the government fiscal situation. Right now, it ain't so bad. It ain't so bad. But it could turn south quickly. Oh, by the way, that $22 million that the government say take out of Social Security, it should put it back. It shouldn't have taken it out in the first damn place. You keep boasting how you got surplus after surplus after surplus. Well, you should have used that $22 million out of the surplus. You understand? And you shouldn't have further burdened Social Security. Leave Social Security alone. Take your hands off of Social Security. Make better investment decisions. Why are you taking Social Security money and giving it to the port? And then later you're going to want to write it off. And Social Security money gone poof. Right? Why you going to take Social Security money and put it in NHC when you could find other sources of funding for NHC housing? Take your hand off of Social Security. Or you watch it now. Or you're 20-something years old, 30-something years old, 40-something years old. Watch out. A word to the wise is enough. I'm going to pause here.
I love being in the latest style and dress fine, or should I say classy. That is why I shop at First Class next to the taxi stand at Port Sante for fine gold and silver jewelry in precious, semi-precious and colored stones, diamonds and crystal watches, and the hottest handbags and wallets. And when I want to buy a gift for someone, that's easy too. I just ask them to make me a gift basket, and First Class has the best prices at Port Sante. So no matter what the occasion, come on into First Class and leave happy, knowing you've gotten the best deal for your money. It's First Class at Port Sante, where quality, low prices, and top-notch service are second to none.
Spread the word. New and exclusive every Sunday from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's the Gospel Cafe with Carl D. Springate on KYSS FM 102.5. Tune in and connect with the Holy Ghost Connection with live interviews, Christian news, what's hot and what's not in the now. Birthdays and anniversary shout-outs available, Bible Jeopardy, Beyond the Pulpit, and positive entertainment and ministry. Testimonies and the pastor's moment with Spread the Word. So tune in as we drop the latest gospel hits, 100% black. It's the Carl D. Springate Gospel Cafe, Sundays from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. on KYSSFMonline.com and 102.5 FM. And be blessed like that.
One fashion accessories for really low prices. Check silver and cents. Check silver and cents. Beauty supplies and weave, genuine fragrances. Check silver and cents. Check silver and cents. Handbags so beautiful, your friends will envy how you look. Great perfume to smell just right, you'll feel like you're in paradise. Watches, silver jewelry and hair accessories. Check silver and cents in the Amri Mall on Keon Street.
Ready or not, you're my clothes. You can't hide. I'm gonna find you and make you want me.
Ain't nobody tell me nothing. Can't tell me nothing.
I'm Shaniel Francis.
And I'm Dijon Webb.
Kyssfm 102.5 is proud to announce its brand new morning show, Backchat, the only place to hear the hottest music.
From local
Check me area code, direct me area code. Anywhere me go, you know me touch the
To international,
Ay, I go shopping, want it, then I cop it. Ay, yeah, bitches popping, I do what they copy.
and have you informed with a range of topics.
Tell me nothing.
so on Mondays to Fridays, tune in at 8 to 11.
Tell me nothing.
You won't want to miss the vibes on
Backchat.
Ready or not, you're my clothes.
I wanna fly high up to the sky. I'm living in the mountains. Everybody know the soil so fertile. If a man sit down naked, the seeds might grow. A delightful getaway from the hustle, bustle and tricks. Oh, what a natural fix if you don't like to mix with the politics. One issue I have to resolve. If I could sort it out, all problems solved. Every time I plant corn and it start to shoot, some idiot keep talking it out the root. Make country flowers in it, bark it up. Make country producing it, bark it up. Country start to blossom. I don't know who or where they come from. Me blind neighbor say he saw a man resembling one of them politicians. I wasn't there, so I didn't see exactly who talking up me country.
Hey, welcome back to the Rebuttal, y'all. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to close out this evening with a little bit that, quite frankly, is not so easy for me to do. Because it gets me kind of upset to present on these issues. I heard that the young man Lapsy, I think it's Jovan Lapsy, at the port. I heard that he was terminated from the port last Friday with immediate effect. I have met the young man on several occasions when I was a public servant. He had attended several of my training sessions. I find him to be a very nice young man, for want of a better word. He's well-mannered. I think he served in the military, if I'm not mistaken, in the defense force, if I'm not mistaken. I've always liked him. But I understand that he was given his letter to go home. And I don't know that you could think that such a decision is anything but political victimization. You know it. He knows it. I know it, and Grant them know it. I personally feel that the minister with responsibility for the port and his cohorts are planning a corrupt assault on the port with a view to enrich themselves. That's what I personally believe. See, a lot of us believe that the thieving around town that happen by the guy on the street from the countryside, from up the alley in McKnight, from somewhere in your tongue. But the thieving really don't happen by them people who present themselves as the creme de la creme in the country, you know. Because they figure that you ain't going to be looking at them, you ain't going to be pointing a finger at them, you ain't going to be watching them. I believe, I got a very not so nice feeling about what's going to be happening with that port. I don't trust them. And I believe that part of the reason that they would have sent this young man home is that they don't trust him because they figure that he would not keep their secrets and he would not cover up for any corrupt acts they may undertake. And so, in my estimation, that is the reason that they have gotten him out of the way. Till I already watch them with a caca, A lot of people got what they got, not because they worked for it. A lot of people got what they got, not because they earned it. A lot of people got what they got because they took it. A friend of mine told me in New York sometime last year, he said, Dougie, you only understand politics from a book standpoint, I say, but what you mean by that? He said, I only understand politics by reading a book. I said, all right, so explain to me what you mean. He said, boy, let me tell you something. With this politics thing, I take in. I got to get something out of it. And he went on to tell me the story of a politician that is known to all of us. I ain't going to call his name. And the politician, he was a former politician by then, had told him that one of his regrets was that he didn't take. In other words, he didn't enrich himself. In other words, he didn't thief. He wasn't corrupt. That is what the individual was lamenting. And so my friend said, look, you should have taken when you had the opportunity. Because I gonna take. And I remember saying, I said, well, that's not the way I was raised. I said, that ain't how we grew up. And I said, me ain't gonna start now. So, I mean, you do you, I'll do me. And that's the notion of a lot of people who are in politics, and a lot of people who are around politicians. And this last election showed the underbelly of the local politics, with a lot of money changing hands and a lot of people being bribed to cast their votes. And so St. Kitts is not the type of place that we all would have wished it to be. And I don't know that now that we are in this difficult time, I don't know how we're going to survive. Because St. Kitts got in some people who, boy, let me tell you something. They'll take in a heartbeat what ain't theirs. And they feel they're entitled because they're in politics. But this is where I'm going to get in trouble. I want to say to you guys out there, if you can, any business person listening, if you know of any jobs, I would like you guys to try and get this brother a job as soon as possible. A young man like that should not be forced to suffer victimization and be put out of a job, especially at this time. A young brother like that should not be treated with such disregard. If you don't like him in the spot he is, move him to somewhere else. But to take a man's job because of politics, and maybe because you think that he gonna get in your way a thieving, that hard. You see, these guys make these decisions and they forget that they own private businesses. What if all the Labour supporters get up in a rage and choose not to buy KFC? No 1,000 Labour supporters in a St. Kitts. No 2,000 Labour supporters in a St. Kitts. You see, they're going to cry foul if that happens. But that is what it is leading up to. Why should you take the man's job? Especially at a time like this. Because of politics. This is what I say. Give the man his job back. Give the man his job. Give back the man the job. Or give him something of equal value. That is what I'm saying. And this is my personal pledge. Me don't know what you're going to do. Right? And I'm telling you, when Labour do it, Labour wrong. When Team Unity do it, they wrong. This is my personal pledge. For as long as Mr. Lapsy remain unemployed, for as long as government ain't give him back a job or give him back a job, I personally ain't eating a thing from KFC. I ain't buying nothing for nobody from KFC. You can't beg me for no money and buy nothing from KFC. And I'm telling you right now, you shouldn't either. Support who support you. Back who you want. Your politics is your politics. But you can't treat people so. Because if you do, they got a right to treat you in a similar manner. I'm just saying. I'm saying, for as long as that guy is out of a job, I will not buy or eat another meal from KFC. You don't take away a man's job like that. And you don't do it ever. But worse, you don't do it in the midst of a pandemic and the Great Recession. How the man gonna feed himself? How he gonna feed the family? Now ain't the time for you to victimize and discriminate against anybody because of their politics. And ain't nobody gonna tell me that it's not because of politics. You do what you got to do. I know me not eat no KFC. On that note, I gone. Good night. Or you know vex. Talk to you next week.
Change now, things need to rearrange now. Act as if we've never been to school. Every year them ride we like mule. Life ain't no game show. I wanna know if they know what it's like. Coming from country, no even young people are crying. Cause the system of IP. This is a cry from the ghetto. Done, you know we can't see them. If them not change, it change. Me and me people now vote again. Me a talk to the dirty beggar them, and the dirty ass promoter them. Me can't believe you